call cannot be completed as dialed. Please hang up and dial the complete 10-digit.
Columbus's Flavor 92.1 WLTC HD2 Cosita and W221 Columbus. Columbus's Flavor 92.1.
Welcome back to Visions Now Supper Club. Visions Now Supper Club is a presentation of Columbus Flavor 92.1 FM and AM 1420. All views expressed for their educational and journalistic purposes. They're not the views of the management, advertisers, and staff of 92.1 FM or AM 1420. However, Visions does desire to bring a quality edutainment program which intellectually stimulates and culturally fulfills our community's needs to develop leadership and informed decision-making for our collective future. Welcome to the village, often imitated, but never duplicated. I'm Dr. Geraldine Hood, your host and executive producer. Welcome.
Is about America just haven't been told at all. And so it is deeply important to tell a full and honest story of the violence this country has inflicted on Black Americans so that we can better understand why this country looks the way that it does today. Part of what I hope this series does is teach you all many of the things that I never learned in school, but things that I really wish that I had. Like our topic today. In this episode, we'll focus on the heightened levels of violence that erupted into a series of riots across the nation in 1919, also known as the Red Summer. I want to reiterate that there will be mentions of physical violence in this episode. The U.S. entry into World War I created two avenues of opportunities for Black Americans that hadn't been there before. Many working-age white men were drafted as part of the war effort, which meant that there were many job vacancies that Black Americans could now take advantage of. the abundance of employment and housing opportunities became an additional source of motivation for Black folks looking to escape the violence and economic despair of the South. The war also allowed many Black men to fight on behalf of their country. Fighting in wars to defend America remains a hotly debated subject within Black communities. Some see it as an opportunity for Black people to earn their stripes, so to speak, viewing military service as the ultimate show of patriotism and a means of showing this country that this is a place that belongs to them too. On the other side, there are those who have always had this idea of Black people fighting for America as absurd, posing the question, why risk your life to protect a country that won't protect you? An estimated 367,000 Black Americans enlisted or were drafted into service during World War I. But unfortunately, upon their return, that idea of obtaining respect in exchange for their military service didn't quite pan out the way that they'd hoped. In the crisis, the official magazine of the NAACP, Black sociologist W.E.B. Du Bois wrote in his article, Returning Soldiers, we returned from fighting, we returned fighting. He wrote this in May of 1919. Foreboding as it was, this column could not have predicted what would ensue in the coming months. From late May to December of 1919, approximately 25 race riots took place on American soil. Black people's participation in World War I and their sudden increased presence in northern cities were beginning to cause a lot of white people to panic. Many white soldiers returned home and were worried about the prospect of financial insecurity. They came back to find out that Black people had filled many of the jobs at their previous workplaces and had no intention of going anywhere anytime soon. By the end of 1919, approximately 1 million Black Americans had fled the South for northern cities. Between 1910 and 1920, the Black population in Chicago grew by 148%, and in Philadelphia by 500%. Things were changing, and not in a way that everyone liked. Many white people were beginning to panic, and a campaign of terror emerged from this panic, becoming an extension of the lynching epidemic in the South. But whether the violence was taking place in the North or in the South, the goal was always the same: to maintain white supremacy and white economic power. In many of these bouts of chaos that were emerging, many Black veterans were specifically targeted by white mobs and police officers alike. They were seen by many white people as a threat to Jim Crow and the racial order of the day. Black soldiers had returned from the war with the sense that they deserved more from this country that they had just risked their lives for. In Texas, a federal agent reported, quote, "One of the principal elements causing concern is the returned Negro soldier, who is not readily fitting back into his prior status of pre-war times." In July of 1919, in Washington, D.C., a white woman reported being accosted by a young Black man. A suspect was quickly arrested, but he was soon released from custody. After his release, the press started fanning the flames of the incident. Mobs began to assemble, and a riot ensued. More than 150 residents were either murdered or injured. The poet, activist, and NAACP Field Secretary James Weldon Johnson, who coined the term Red Summer in the NAACP Crisis magazine, wrote, "I knew it to be true, but it was almost an impossibility for me to realize as a truth that men and women of my race were being mobbed, chased, dragged from streetcars, beaten, and killed within the shadow of the dome of the Capitol, at the very front door of the White House." After refusing to send in troops before, on the 5th day of unrest, President Woodrow Wilson finally stepped in and sent nearly 2,000 soldiers into the city to end the violence. But not even a week later, on July 27th, the nation's attention turned to Chicago. Unlike the preceding riot, the trigger to this melee was no rumor. There were several eyewitnesses to this truly tragic event. Picture this. On a beach at Lake Michigan, 17-year-old Eugene Williams took a ride on a homemade raft and drifted into the whites only section of the beach by accident. A white man began throwing stones at him, hit him in the head, sent him into the water, and he drowned. This caused an uproar. A few hours after Eugene's body was finally brought to the shore, a crowd of nearly 1,000 outraged witnesses assembled on the beach waiting for him. Black bystanders demanded that the man who threw the stones be arrested. For them, Eugene's death was the last straw. In his book, Occupied Territory, Policing Black Chicago from Red Summer to Black Power, historian Simon Balto explained that this was right in the middle of a 4-year reign of terror where white supremacists bombed 58 homes to keep Black people from pioneering. Pioneering is a term that describes Black American families in the early 20th century who moved into all-white neighborhoods. That day, at Lake Michigan, the police made no arrests. They took no action. And that's when the fighting began and exploded beyond the beachfront and into the city. White men rode into Chicago and shot up Black homes and Black businesses. White mobs formed and began beating Black people on the street and setting fire to Black homes. When local authorities failed to come to the aid of Black people, Black veterans stepped in, forming their own militias. One group even broke into a local armory to get weapons so that communities could adequately defend themselves as the violence raged on. Only heavy rain and the intervention of the Illinois National Guard were able to bring the week-long assault to a stop. By the end, 38 people had been killed, 23 of whom were Black. Nearly 1,000 Black homes had been burned down, and 500 people, again, mostly Black, suffered severe injuries. NAACP investigator Walter White stated later, "The Chicago riot taught me that there could be as much peril in a northern city when the mob is loose as in a southern town." Black self-defense units emerged out of necessity across the United States as riots surfaced. Multiple other major cities would report race riots in 1919 as well. Among these were Omaha, Nebraska, Elaine, Arkansas, and Charleston, South Carolina. During each of these, a disproportionate number of Black people were killed and injured. Some newspapers suggested that the uprisings and Black resistance to white violence was being caused by Soviet and socialist propaganda. But it didn't take propaganda for Black people to see what was happening all around them. A total of 3,436 people were lynched in the United States between 1889 and 1922. 3,038 of them were Black. An October editorial in the New York Times proclaimed, "Persistence of unpunished lynchings of Negroes fosters lawlessness among white men imbued with the mob spirit and creates a spirit of bitterness among Negroes. In such a state of public mind, a trivial incident can precipitate a riot." In 1918, Representative L.C. Dyer of Missouri introduced the Dyer Anti-Lynching Bill, the first of 200 anti-lynching bills to be introduced in the United States throughout the course of its history. But it is important to note that since 1918, no anti-lynching legislation has ever been passed. And as of this filming, in 2021, still nothing. In 1939, jazz singer Billie Holiday performed what would become an iconic song written by Abel Meeropol that captured the terror of Black lynchings. "Southern trees bear a strange fruit, blood on the leaves and blood at the root. Black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the poplar trees." The Red Summer of 1919 shows us how much white Americans across the country pushed back against the prospect of Black people beginning to intrude on their spaces and demand rights that white people thought only belonged to them. In addition to the implementation of Jim Crow laws that became codified and formalized over time, white mob violence sent the message to Black people that they needed to stay in their place. But Black people didn't just stay in their place. Despite the violence they faced from what must have seemed like every direction, Black folks kept working, kept advocating, and kept pushing to live in the sort of world they knew that they deserved to live in. And no assault, no violence, or mob was going to stop that. As James Weldon Johnson once wrote, "I will not allow one prejudiced person, or 1 million, or 100 million to blight my life. I will not let prejudice or any of its attendant humiliations and injustices bear me down to spiritual defeat. My inner life is mine, and I shall defend and maintain its integrity against all the powers of hell." Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Crash Course is made with the help of all these nice people, and our animation team is Thought Cafe. Crash Course is possible with the help of all the people who bought the 2021 Crash Course Learner Coin and by all our patrons on Patreon. Thank you to all our patrons and supporters for making Crash Course possible.
This is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband. He lost weight. More important, cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend went, and she lost 20 pounds in the first 2 months. So does Mark Patrick hypnosis work? Oh yeah, it works. Nothing has changed my life more. Well, except maybe.
And it's about has to do with initiative. Is that according to the commonest principles of human action, no man would do as much for you as you would do for yourself. And then there's another one that says by Andre Lord, even the smallest victory is never, even the smallest victory is never applauded because it is so easy not to battle at all, to just accept and call that acceptance inevitable. Andre Lord. As it relates to schooling, it says that I don't expect other people to educate our children. We are responsible. The power structure will not address issues that are at the root. The challenge falls back on us. Gil Noble. And then Annette Jones White. She says, whenever I find myself beginning to be intolerant or insensitive with my daughters, I think back to a similar incident I put my mother through. And I smile and understand their need to be themselves. To a similar incident I put my mother through. And it goes on to say, and these are all, of course, quotes that I think that we need to hear during this Sankofa month, or better known as Black History Month, is that I always got teased. Teased about my name, teased about my size. I'd have to beat them up. That quote is by Shaquille O'Neal. And then there's another one under the thing of elders. One of the problems with this country is that we're wasting the elderly, but nature wastes nothing. So why isn't their knowledge recycled into the children? To me, there's nothing more wonderful than an old person who loves children and wants to teach them. on the subject of kindness. Okay, says a good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. Of course, that's by Osage for Nelson Mandela. Judith Jameson, the great dance artist, says that my parents had the good sense to channel my energy and put me into dance school because I was driving them crazy. And then on the issue of legacy, my grandmother and her third daughter, my mother put on maids uniforms and cooked and sewed and served the family that employed my grandmother until she was nearly 80 years old. I owe these women everything. They taught me hope and kindness and how to say thank you. And then Romare Bearden. I am a man concerned with truth, not flattery, who shares a dual culture that is unwilling to deny the Harlem where I grew up, or the Harlem of the Dutch masters that contributed this element to my understanding of art. Goes on to say, Whoopi Goldberg says something that's related to self-determination. Remember, I wasn't supposed to last. I wasn't supposed to be here. 10 years later, because I was just supposed to be a flash in the pan, I'm still here. And then Alvin Poussant, psychiatrist, says, our young brothers need to know how to live in both worlds. And of course, as you know, W.B. Du Bois, he wrote that famous book, The Souls of Black Folks. Okay, so we're going to take a little break here, and we'll try to come back, and we'll come back with Miss Libby Anthony, the boss lady of United States Entertainment, I call her. List of visions now, the Supper Club, 92.1 FM on the Flavor.
And the Civic Center box office. For vendors and church group discounts, call 706-580-3283. A portion of the proceeds to benefit the community. Powered by the Susan G. Cooper Community Impact and Empowerment Foundation.
Okay, this bear with us just a little bit. We're gonna try to go in, I guess, and get Miss Anthony on, and of course we're certainly excited about getting her started here and list of views now. And in the meantime, while you're calling her, we'll try to see if we can get things going here. And let's see here. So we hope that, as always, we do the best we can and to try to bring some thought leaders, to our show. And of course, we're still trying to work with the technology. And as always, technology is always going to beat us out. That's right. Technology is always going to beat us out. Okay, let's see here. Try to make it happen here. So be patient with us here. And we hope that that you're going to enjoy our discussion. Okay. Okay. This hold on, Miss Livy. This hold on.
How you doing?
This hold on. We're gonna put you on hold for a second, okay?
Hello?
Okay.
This day? Yes. We can't get the live going on the commercial. It's not
Okay.
no.
Okay. We just hold 1 second here. Okay. Well, let's go on and get started here. One of the things I guess let's start off with is that
No.
first of all, I know this is a very busy season for you, Black History Month, and of course with your book, Juking in the A, and of course the Atlanta entertainment history, and I guess my question is to start off with, why now? Because you've been doing this a long time, but why is it now that you decided it was time for you to go and put your book out? I can't hear. I can't hear. Uh-huh. so and it's kind of interesting, given the dynamism of Atlanta and the role that Georgia's played in the world of music. It's really kind of interesting that nobody had done it before. So, I mean, it's good. It's good that you decided to go in and do it, because it's certainly necessary. Um, Right, 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 right. And I know the civil rights movement. I mean, it was critical because a lot of the funds that was necessary for to promote certain events. Right, 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 right. Exactly. Exactly, exactly. Let's kind of pause here for a moment to just kind of talk a little bit about this because again, how did what was your journey to really becoming what I call you the boss lady of entertainment history? I mean, what was your journey? Okay, you from Tuskegee, Alabama, and I guess went to Tuskegee Institute at that time, and yes, you are. Yes, you are. Right. Right, 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 right. So, like I grew up in Detroit. You grew up in Georgia. Right. So you still look at, yeah, yeah. But I guess so how's the because I know the first time that I heard about you, I was in Little Rock, Arkansas, back in the back in the '90s. It had to be back in the '90s, and that was some show being done out there, and I was saying to myself, I was talking to two of I was with, and I said, I wonder how could I get these people, and then I think on the flyer that they had, I think your name was on the flyer, or either they had the name, so well, look, I can give it to you, and I think that's how I eventually, found you. But again, obviously you were making the things happen. So how'd you get to be the go-to person? Because I never known anybody that we tried to get that you couldn't get. So I mean, so tell us a little bit about that. Yeah, well, I like to live in Anthony, but I never dealt with nobody else other than you. Right, right, right. 'Cause Columbus was on that chilling circuit too. Ma Rainey and all that kind of good stuff. Right, right. Uh huh. Yeah. Right. What city? What city? What city was that? What city? Oh, you was in New York. Oh, okay. Okay, you had a little hippie in you, huh? Right. Right. So what kind of work? What kind of work? What kind of work were you? Yeah. What kind of work were you doing when you was in New York? Okay. Okay. Right. Right. Well, I know. Right. Man, either. Right. 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 That was your day job. That was your day job. That was your day job. Right. Oh, we know. See, we did a lot of things. When I was in Detroit, we had Esther Phillips many times in Detroit. We put in different clubs and when in Detroit. So I remember Esther Phillips very well. I loved her silky voice. Yeah, oh, silky voice, and yeah, no doubt. Yeah, we used to book her. Oh yes, yeah. I mean, right. That's right. That's right. Right. Exactly. 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 Right. Right. Right, right. So I mean that okay. Now that you give me a little gap there. I mean, from that adventure there, I mean, there wasn't no straight path to you throwing the book. I mean, like what happened in between there? Oh, okay, okay.
The bands, but you had the
Hello,
girl band Queen's
hello,
Connection. You had
hello, hello, hello. I think we lost her. We might have to get her back. Yeah. Okay. We're talking with Miss Libby Anthony, and okay, so I mean, as you can see, I mean, she has a rich history in terms of because so we're going to get back on here. Okay, I'm sorry, we had got you cut off there. Right, right, right. I just as a sidebar, I always said that with all the technology we got going to the moon and everything, we still can't seem to get the squeal and the problem with microphones. I mean, you go all the way to the moon and hear everything, walk on the moon, and you go to a concert and they're still I- right. So, uh, it, it, that's exactly right. He gonna tell you. He go. But what was your first successful booking, and where was that at? Reese, yeah, that was Millie Jackson's daughter. No, oh, me that Reese. Oh, okay. Because I know one why Keith, I think okay, right. Okay, okay. Let's kind of talk a little bit about it and remind everybody that your book they can get it on Amazon, and also they're gonna be able to get it locally from Euphoria Books and Wellness Houses. From you, from yeah, that's right. From Euphoria Books, we're gonna be able to have some copies available for. And I think anybody that's thinking about it, especially this younger generation who don't really know, they don't know the difference between hip hop and gangster. You know what I'm saying? I mean, these are not these are two different genres. These are not the same thing, but you know, there's the politics of it. They want to throw it all in there together. But hip hop has certain values and certain ethics about music and that type of thing. Whereby gangster, you know, anybody or anything, you know, I mean, it was more, I call it the runch of it all. You know, whereby hip hop was really really a community, a family. I mean, grandmama and the little kid, everybody could deal with the hip hop because it was that kind of community building. You're based on love. Yeah, I guess that's what I would say. Hip hop was based on love, whereby the gangster and that kind of stuff based on hate. So that's why I break it down many times. But right, and I can't tell you before one. I balk at people calling that stuff music. I call it entertainment. I get entertainment, but it's not music because when you talk about music, there's a certain character to music. If something is music to my ears, then that means that it is something in it that has a touch of kind of spirit, a soulfulness in it. But this stuff that they're doing is it doesn't have any soul in it. It doesn't have any spirituality to it. Well, it's the killing. I guess the killing part that getting me. I kind of deal with the lust a little bit, but the killing part was killing me. You know, I mean the right, exactly. Right, 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 right. It's exactly, exactly. It was all of yeah, right, exactly, right. Uh-huh. Right. 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 Well, and of course, right, and the major, and see, also the major producers, these big, these the corporate, I call it, to me, it's the corporate that really. Well, okay, let's right. Well, let's talk about it a little bit though, because I've been watching this thing. And, no, I get what you're saying, but then my thing is this: is that okay? It's like this. If I reward you for doing, just like anything, if you have a child, you reward them for doing bad, then they're gonna do bad. If you do good, and I mean, and the people in the music, those who are doing over the years. I mean, you hear them talking about the public enemies and the KRA. In other words, these people that were talking about empowerment of our communities and building the community, those people were not ones that were rewarded. They right. And that's soul music. See that's soul entertainment. That's what I'm saying. Say that kind of thing, and they rewarded those people. Well, when I say the corporate business, right? Yeah. Well, again, like I say, we gonna probably have a little prolong because my time my yeah. I mean, I'm trying to say that okay. No. Listen, we agree on everything other than the journey to this place. But I come from a psychological standpoint. I come from the psychology of it and studying this over the years. Right, that's what I'm trying to say. So right. So when I looked at, because with my interactions over the years, say coming from a Stax to Motown and the Philly sound, okay. Then within the context of the social environment, I remember when and again, if you listen to Professor Griff and some of these other folks, I mean, it's very clear. They talk about there are times when certain people were rewarded, and it's like this: if you get certain out there, you can make something popular, and that's what's going on like right now. Right. Well, see, I guess the only thing I guess that you and I, right. I think we agree on everything, with the exception of what I'm saying is right. What? No, Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. Right. What? Yes. Well, again, I put it like this. There was a time, but right now, for example, the way music is, you can't even buy a CD. In other words, the record companies, they decide who they're going to put on TV. They decide who they want to popularize. Then there are other artists, good artists, but the whole idea is that those artists are not the ones that are being elevated. You know, the Nas X's, the Nas. Right. Again. Okay, right. Again, we agree. Right. We agree. See, you and I, we agree on everything. I agree. My position is the same thing. But the difference is that I cannot. No, well, but this is part of it though. See, but see, right. But see, this is my point. My point is that when greed started to overrule soul, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I know that there's a thing called subliminal seduction. There are things that people do to popularize certain types of dynamics. And as a result of that, then I know, for example, we did the hip hop summits here, we did other type things, and I know for a fact that the popularization of certain things was because they got the notoriety. Then just like with violence, they realized that, okay, that's the beef between the East Coast and West Coast. That was all, those things were manipulated in ways to be profitable to the corporate. But again, this is a good discussion. I think this is a discussion that we. Mm-hmm. No, well, again, okay, what the only thing I'm saying is I hadn't called any. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. But right, well, let's see. No, and that's when my thing is that this circle of violence, this cycle of violence, that like I say that I track it a little different way. Like I said, you look at it from the corporate and the business side. I'm looking at it from the cultural and the social dimensions and as to how that became popularized. And so again, I think both of these things I think both of these are variables. I'm not saying that one is all at all. I think there's enough. But my point is that in order for you to solve any problem, you got to first of all admit that you got a problem. And so that's where I come from. That as long as we think we don't have a problem, then we won't. But exactly. We got to own that problem. No. Not made to happen, but we're talking about reward and punishment. We're talking about rewarding. It's just like you have two children. I mean, no, I'm just saying, if you have a child, I mean, as a parent, you try to set up better situations so that your child would not feel that they are going to be rewarded for doing negative or bad or mean things. I mean, that's just right. So I guess right. So I asked you the question. I asked you this question. Okay, I asked you this question, Libby. Look at let yeah, but let me ask you this question. Okay, what would you say then? Okay, given the situation, what would you suggest? And this is where I want to go anyway. Was what would you suggest would be now? What would be the steps by which we would then transform what has been negative that's become negative, and we won't say how it became negative, but because it's going that way now, how do we turn it back the other way? What do you say from there? Okay, but I'm saying, how do we do that? What? No, yeah. But I'm saying, how do we do that? That's what I'm saying. Say, because mhm. Okay, okay, right, right, okay. And the drug culture of our communities, the drug culture. Okay, now we're gonna need we right. We down to Libby, Libby. We down to 3 minutes now. So I want, but right, right. Okay, okay, okay. I tell you what, we're gonna need to do. We got we coming out there. We coming down to the end here. So we're gonna do a part 2 on this. Okay, yeah. Right. That's right. And, and there you go. Libby Anthony is the author. Libby Anthony is the author. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure. And the thing about it, this is a discussion here that we need to continue throughout our community. We got a different points of view, but it still is a discussion that we need to have because it's in that discussion is where we end up growing. Because one thing about it is that as we each try to reach to the higher ground in the discussion, then we can't do nothing but win. So God bless you, and thank you so much. And again, we're going to do it. We're going to do a part 2. Yes, ma'am. Right. Okay. Okay. No doubt about it. All right. Oh, you heard it right here, and I'm gonna remind them. I'm not gonna tell you what the artist is, but I'm gonna remind. Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Love you, girl, and we're gonna talk more. Take care. Peace. Bye bye. All right, Miss Libby Anthony, and of course, really discuss, and that's why I said this is the kind of discussion we have to have a bigger discussion. We know we can sometimes we agree to disagree, and sometimes they actually is a part of both. It's a combination of factors that we think that makes the difference. So get ready to get on out of here. It's time for us to say good night, and I think we're back down to that time now. Let's see here. Oh, it's right on time. All right. Good night. Can you hear it? Oh, I guess I can. Is it kicking in? The post out. Okay, well.